Kirby Smart and his Georgia Bulldogs have a design on another appearance in the college football playoff. But a rival stands in their way. It's Georgia Tech and fifth-ranked Georgia. Between the hedges. It is a simple rivalry, really. It is clean, old-fashioned hate. And there is tremendous history and tradition behind it. These two programs first met in 1893, and while Georgia leads the all-time series, they can't even agree on the true series record. Tech counts 2 wins during World War II. Georgia says those games didn't happen. So these neighbors get together again. If there's any doubt in how far back the hate goes, just turn to the fight songs. Georgia Tech says to hell with Georgia. The Dogs say, and to hell with Georgia Tech. And with that, we welcome you. Happy Thanksgiving. Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, Cole Kublik down on the field. It's really simple. Bulldog Nation thinks that they're going back to the playoff with a win against Alabama next week. Georgia Tech could be the ultimate spoiler, keeping their rival from doing that.
Yeah, it is going to be an old-fashioned type game. Both teams want to control the ball. To me, the discipline that Georgia's going to have on defense to slow down an offense that really no one has so far this year.
Georgia Tech won the toss. They defer a short kickoff, and that's where the Bulldogs will start, and they'll start without some key players. Cole's got more.
It's going to be big not having linebacker Monty Rice in the lineup tonight. Tom obviously facing the triple option. Roquan Smith at linebacker had a huge game against Georgia Tech a year ago. On the other side, in the trenches, Georgia's still a little bit banged up. Cade Mays not going to be able to go. Ben Cleveland will be available. I do not expect to see much of him today for the Bulldogs on offense.
All right, Cole, thanks. Georgia and Georgia Tech meeting for the 113th time. And a Georgia native, sophomore Jake Fromm, at the helm for the Bulldogs. 22-3 as a starter, and his first pass is complete to Tyler Simmons, and Simmons turns it in to an 11-yard gain. Isaac Nauta is the tight end in motion for Georgia. Play action again. Fromm has time. Lobs one, complete up the sideline to Terry Godwin. What perfect touch against the Georgia Tech zone, a gain of 22.
And this is what makes Jake Fromm so good. Not only is he going to beat you post or pre-snap with his mind, but post-snap, this is, and to most quarterbacks, this throw is covered. But the level 2 ball gets it up and over the defender there, sees the field 3-dimensionally, not 2-dimensionally, meaning he knows how to manipulate the trajectory of his ball to find those open receivers, even when it might look covered.
Jumbo package with 2 tight ends. Fromm checks in the line. 3 tight ends, pardon me, with Isaac Nauta in there as well. 3rd down, 2. Here's Swift. 1st down, and he works his way inside the 10. Gain of 10. Brandon Adams finally with the stop. Fromm out of the gun. Elijah Holyfield back in the game. Fromm in zone. Caught. Easy touchdown pass to Riley Ridley, his 7th catch of the season in the end zone.
We mentioned the mismatch at the line of scrimmage for the size of Georgia versus the lack of size at Georgia Tech. The other mismatch to note, these receivers for Georgia, as versatile as they've been. I think that's the biggest difference from last year to this year. The versatility they have on the outside, man-to-man coverage there, just an inside slant. Big-bodied Riley, not going to lose that matchup.
Kirby Smart went 3-1 against Georgia Tech as a player. Had an interception of Joe Hamilton in the '96 game, 3rd season as the Georgia head coach. But he was quick to point out, back then when I was playing, they didn't run this offense. It has been a point of contention. It is a thorn in Kirby's side that they have to prepare for this offense, and they do it literally year-round. To throw for the first time, Marshall chased, and he will lob it up to the sideline. He found a water bottle. That was it. Michael Barnett brought the pressure.
They do prepare for this offense in the offseason, take a couple days in fall camp as well. They have a specific coach that's breaking down film weekly. But when you're a player, it's really like a college final. You're cramming the week of, if you're lucky, a few days the week prior for this offense. So you have a lot of information to get in a short amount of time to learn how to stop this defense. A way to do it, though, get them into 3rd and medium, get them into 3rd and long, not what this offense is built for.
3rd down, 6 at midfield. And Marshall takes it just shy of the line to gain, and he lost his helmet. So Tobias Oliver, if they choose to go for it on 4th down, will come in at quarterback. He lost his helmet because it got ripped off after the play by Michael Barnett. It's one way to get the quarterback out.
And Tobias Oliver trotting in. He's actually the better runner, so going for it here on 4th and short. Had a couple dives up the middle. Wouldn't be surprised they get Oliver going off tackle with a fake to the dive.
Movement from everybody except the center and the quarterback.
And they were going off tackle there. That's a tough thing with the new quarterback in there. The cadence sounds a little bit different. Everybody ready but him in the center.
Ball start.
Ken Williamson, our white hat today. Paul Johnson not happy.
Yeah, new cadence coming in. You see they were going off tackle to the left, as I suspected, with the faster, more mobile Tobias Oliver at quarterback. That's a mental mistake. Can't have that. Backup quarterback's got to go in, be able to snap the ball at the very least.
Now, 2 games running concurrently that will have an impact on the college football playoff. Georgia right now on the outside looking in as the 5th-ranked team in the country. They look really good and really fast. Elijah Holyfield, the new deal down the sideline. And a Georgia 1st down on a 39-yard gallop.
Good to see him healthy back out there after we weren't sure about that injury earlier.
Replaced by Swift. Fromm fires over the middle. That's complete for another Georgia 1st down. Charlie Werner on a gain of 14. Fromm looking, converting, and it is right at the marker to Isaac Nauta. And it'll depend on the spot. It looks like he's going to be just a hair short.
I love the play call. Tight splits by the tight end. Creates a lot of green grass on the outside. A well-thrown ball. See where his... I think he steps out before that first foot hits the red. It's close.
Georgia's 4 of 7 on 4th down this season. They're going to leave the offense on the field. Fromm chatting with everybody as they come to the line. It's Swift in the backfield. And Georgia picks it up with a quarterback sneak. Why not? He's 6'2", 220.
Absolutely. You have the size advantage up front. Both those offensive linemen he just ran behind are 310 plus. Kinley's almost 340. It's an underrated play there. The quarterback sneak gets lost in this day and age where most quarterbacks are in the shotgun. And to me, you got a few inches, that's almost a guarantee. You got the size that Georgia does up front.
So 1st and goal Dogs, 2nd possession of the game, and Georgia trying to add to their lead. This is the 10th play of the drive. Swift cuts his way straight up the middle. And that'll set up 2nd and goal from the 1 for the Dogs. His dad, Darren, having a hard time showing off his guns today with all the layers on a chilly Saturday afternoon.
Saw a big benefit of Jake Fromm checking that play at the line of scrimmage, Jordan, because the Georgia Tech defense stems late. They move the defensive line late. A nice way to be able to make sure you're in the right play.
Fromm is a perfect 6 for 6. He's thrown for 1 touchdown already. That was to Riley Ridley. 11th play of the drive. Swift dances behind the line, surges forward, and powers his way in for another Georgia touchdown.
Two incredibly efficient drives by Georgia, just running the football. I mean, they're just lining up and saying, we are more physical, we're bigger than you, we're going to grind this game out just the way you want to. These are picture-perfect drives if you're offensive coordinator Jim Chaney. Jake Fromm throwing it 6 for 6 already in this game, and they're running the football extremely effectively.
Blankenship nails another. Georgia's had 2 offensive possessions. We've got a flag on the point after. DeAndre Swift, though, with the touchdown run, his 9th rushing touchdown of the season. Monte Thomas back to receive for Georgia Tech. Blankenship has been a touchback machine. From a yard out, a yard in, pardon me. And he's got room to the outside. Monte Thomas back up the hashes. He's in a race with Blankenship. Chased, and they finally get him, but it is a step too late. 100-yard kickoff return for Monte Thomas. His 2nd straight game with a kickoff return touchdown. And Georgia Tech special teams get him back in the game.
That is the answer they needed.
Jake Fromm 6 for 6 to start this game. 7 for 7. Jeremiah Holloman breaks free. Another missed tackle on the edge by Georgia Tech. It's a gain of 17.
Yeah, you're going to give that cushion on the outside. Regardless of what's called, Jake Fromm is going to throw it out there and trust his receiver. Jeremiah Holloman is a guy that had a ton of hype this spring. Big spring game. Little bit lost in the mix in fall camp, but he's slowly starting to find his role on this team.
Only 4 words to describe this rivalry. Clean, old-fashioned hate. Georgia with the early advantage, but Georgia Tech with the spark and momentum. We head to the 2nd quarter between the hedges. 14-7 Bulldogs. 10th ranked rushing offense, 15th ranked scoring defense. And they go with wingbacks. Look at this play. Jason Stanley up the sideline. And Stanley finally forced out of bounds by Tariq Carpenter. It goes for 26. Branch at 270. Adams 325. Fromm over the middle. Too high for Isaac Nauta. It's a new look Georgia Tech defense under Nate Woody, who over the last 5 years was the defensive coordinator at Appalachian State. In fact, if you do the math, he was the coordinator when Jake Fromm made his first appearance for Georgia. And against App, Fromm went 10 for 15 for 143 yards last year.
Yeah, they're taking the good with the bad on defense for Georgia Tech. Nate Woody brought in a more aggressive style, but with that, with taking more chances, installing a new defense, you're going to have mental mistakes. You're going to have breakdowns, especially on 3rd down. They've seen that. Their presser packages have not been good. That's why they're one of the worst on 3rd.
Trips to the left side for Fromm, looking that way the whole way. To the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown, Jeremiah Holloman. 12-yard strike, and what a grab for the sophomore.
Just another unbelievably impressive display of touch by Jake Fromm. If you're just looking at it, that's covered. There's no window to throw the football. There's a defender in front, one trailing. But the trust that Jake Fromm has in his big target, Jeremiah Holloman, throws that up and over. Boy, it's impressive.
And so Georgia is able to answer the kickoff return score with another scoring drive. This one, 6 plays, 63 yards. Jake Fromm has 2 touchdown passes today, 22 on the season. And it seems there's no stopping this Georgia offense. Take advantage of it on the very next play. Marshall keeps it, gets cut down. Crowder is there for the stop. It's a gain of 2.
I thought it was interesting talking to Mel Tucker. he mentioned, look, you can't scheme to stop certain plays. You have to scheme to dictate. If you start trying to play catch up and stop what they're doing, they'll be a step ahead. They've seen every defense possible. You've crammed for it for a week. There's nothing that you can do that they don't have an option, for lack of a better term, to do off of it. So you have to try to create overloads, have to try to dictate which side of the ball they run to. But knowing that you just have to play responsible, sound football like that right there.
That's Jonathan Ledbetter. Swallowed up to Quan Marshall. It's a loss of 2. It's going to leave 3rd and long for Tech.
This is what you have to do at the point of attack. Ledbetter there taking on a block and then making a play. You have to stay on your feet, take on blocks, and when you have the opportunity, you have to tackle. Great job there by Ledbetter doing both.
Took down his dear friend, Quan Marshall. 3rd down 10. It won't surprise you to know that Tech is not a great passing offense, 126th in the nation. Timeout, Yellow Jackets. Sounds like a rivalry game. Of this great rivalry, and now an opportunity for Georgia Tech. 3rd and 10. It will only get louder. Marshall kept it, nowhere to go. A gain of only 3. Quan Marshall had to go to each and every offensive lineman and get in their ear to change the play.
Yeah, it's something that you can't coach. You just got to react in the situation. But a great job here by DeAndre Walker, number 15 there, of playing sound football, setting an edge, forcing everything inside. Quan Marshall wanted to get on the edge there, but he couldn't. Had to stuff it up inside. And now on a 4th and 7, I think they got to throw the football.
They'll throw for the 2nd time. No, they won't. Marshall tracked down and dropped. And Georgia turns him over on downs. Jordan Davis with the sack.
Number 99, Jordan Davis. Full tackle for the Dogs. Georgia takes possession on down.
Marshall had nowhere to go downfield. He had nowhere to go in the backfield. Georgia gets the ball back, up 2 touchdowns.
Want Quan Marshall to set up right there, but you're going to see Malik Herring really blows this play up from the start. He's going to provide pressure here, and then late, J.R. Reed coming here is going to force the cutback by Marshall on a play where he'd like to set up and try to hit a pass play downfield. Pressure from both levels blew that one up.
Brown taking a shot, end zone, caught, touchdown, Miko Hardman.
Miko Hardman.
Georgia got the momentum with the sack. They cash in with a 44-yard strike to Hardman. 3rd passing touchdown for Fromm today.
I knew the shot play was coming. You just knew by the way they've been running the football that eventually they were going to stretch the ball vertically, and no one does that better than Miko Hardman.
Georgia leads 28-7. The only score for Georgia Tech came on a kickoff return.
There aren't many guys that can guard Miko Hardman in the slot or on a football field, period. But what you don't want is for Miko Hardman to be running downfield and to have your linebacker, number 51, Brant Mitchell, trying to run. This is a 2-shell, 2 Mike. That Mike linebacker trying to run with a slot receiver as fast as Miko Hardman, 50 yards down the field, is never going to work. Great identification by Jake Fromm at the line of scrimmage, understanding where the mismatch was, understanding his personnel, and then delivering a dime.
On possessions where Georgia has tried, okay, take out the kneel down at the end of the UMass game, the Bulldogs have scored touchdowns on 13 consecutive possessions. That is incredible.
It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Tobias Oliver's at quarterback now for Georgia Tech.
He had a couple of really big games. Rushed for 215 yards against Virginia Tech, 120 yards versus North Carolina, 5 TDs between those two games. Hasn't played a ton the last 2 games that Georgia Tech has had, but he's the more athletic, a little tougher to tackle, more of the running quarterback, even though Marshall doesn't throw it a ton either. Both these guys rushed for over 800 yards this year.
And a high school rivalry with Fromm. Oliver taken down behind the line of scrimmage. DeAndre Walker. And Georgia living in the Georgia Tech backfield here in the first half.
Georgia Tech in a situation down 28-7. Well, they got to start throwing the football, but thing is, that's not what they are best at. And Georgia, something they haven't done all year, really provide pressure on the quarterback. They are getting into the backfield consistently. Now here on 3rd down. I know Swift is the home run hitter, and he can do that, and he is as good as it gets with those big runs, but they love James Cook. So I like to see him early here, getting some reps, significant game time.
On 2nd and 8, Cook squeezes through for a Georgia first down. Brant Mitchell finally brings him down after a gain of 10.
Michigan out of the way, that clears things up for Georgia.
Here's DeAndre Swift, bounces to the outside, turns it upfield with a stiff arm, and he's got a Georgia first down. Remember, Michigan's lone loss came early in the season to Notre Dame. Should Notre Dame stay undefeated, they would stay in the playoff. Ohio State's loss came in a blowout to Purdue. It's not good when Alabama's up next, is it?
No. I think they got a guy, number 92, Quentin Williams, is pretty good. Might want to have a healthy offensive line.
Elijah Holyfield, outside run, dives. He is in. Touchdown, Georgia.
Who'd they run behind? Solomon Kinley getting an initial block here on 23 that gives a little bit of space for a Holyfield. And then that's all Holyfield at the end. Diving from the 3-yard line, getting that in.
They have been unstoppable for the last week and a half. UMass, Georgia Tech, doesn't seem to matter. And he plays a physically demanding position for Georgia Tech. He gets it again, and he gets swarmed immediately by 5 different Bulldogs. It's a gain of 2.
You got to get something going this drive and get points on the board.
Pitch to Nathan Cottrell, and he is stuck. It's DeAndre Walker, who knows this rivalry well. Against Georgia Tech as a freshman, he planted a flag at midfield.
And again, like I said, Georgia Tech going for it on 4th.
Option right, kept by Marshall, and he fights for the first down with a gain of 3.
Big first down by Georgia Tech.
Just the 4th of the game for the Yellow Jackets. Their lone score came on a kickoff return. Marshall keeps it himself, gets hog-tied by Jonathan Ledbetter. Pickup of 6. Third down, 5. Option, pitch to Cottrell, bundled up and brought down. No gain. DeAndre Baker coming up from his cornerback spot for the stop. Remember, they already hit on one long one, so get the ball back, take another shot.
And again, Tom, I say this as good as we've seen Georgia's offense. You might say, yeah, well, they played UMass, now they're playing Georgia Tech, but it's not that. Look at the way Jake Fromm has been accurate, throwing over defenders. Those are difficult throws he's executing. He'll be able to do that against Alabama as well.
Georgia Tech to throw on 4th and 6. Marshall pressured, escapes once, can't escape twice. It's another sack for the Bulldogs defense. Malik Herring was in there. It's a loss of 7, and Georgia will get the ball back in prime field position with 43 seconds left.
And there is just nowhere for Marshall to go. He's going to have pressure from both edges, and then you're going to see the gap get shot. He's going to try to step up, eyes downfield, pressure on both edges. There's nowhere to go. As a quarterback, you're okay with pressure off the edge if you can step up into a pocket or step up and run through. But you couldn't there. Juwan Taylor coming straight up the A-gap, blowing it up.
It's like cooking the perfect turkey on Thursday.
Not always easy, though.
No, it's not. DeAndre Swift. Georgia first down, taken down inbounds. Clock will stop for a moment on a gain of 13. Tariq Carpenter the stop.
Now you see Georgia pushing the tempo a little bit. Once you hit a chunk play, you can decide to push the pedal to the metal.
Clock rolling. Fromm looking. Connects with Isaac Nauta. He is inbounds. The clock will run at 26 seconds, but it'll stop just for the chains to move.
But then that kind of dictates that you're gonna have to take that timeout.
Sure. Swift picks up the blitz. Dump to the edge again. Isaac Nauta again decides to stay in bounds at first, and he does so. Clock will stop for a moment with 9 seconds left. They'll move the chain and a timeout taken.
Ball and score points.
Georgia scored a touchdown in every possession thus far today. First and goal. Out of timeouts. Werner in motion.
Riley Ridley, one-on-one, bottom of your screen.
Lob, back corner end zone, incomplete, trying to find Ridley. Covered by Ajani Kerr. And Kerr chatting with Ridley. They're going to bring on Blankenship with 5 seconds left.
And I think a little miscommunication there between Ridley and Fromm. Fromm was thinking a little more over the top. I think Ridley was expecting a back shoulder in that situation.
Is that just reps, or is that something that's decided?
It's just a feel thing. I mean that wasn't as clear cut. Ridley was kind of even with the defender, so as a quarterback, you could think that could be either. I mean, Ridley 6'2", so you like the jump ball, but I think Ridley was probably thinking back shoulder, as good as Fromm's been throwing that all year.
Rodrigo Blankenship has made 18 of 20 field goal attempts this season. He remains one of the best kickers in the country, and Georgia scores on every single possession in the first half to take a 38-7 lead on Georgia Tech. Georgia has scored on every possession over the last 2 games, with the exception of an end-of-game kneel-down against UMass.
Perfect game plan, perfect execution by Georgia. Didn't show a ton, and now I think in the second half, start strong and then start to rest and get some of your starters out of there.
You just maybe look at the roster to find who the strong guy is. Walk-on freshman, he might play. Largest margin victory in this series is 48. That was Georgia Tech in 1943. 0-2, Georgia won 51-7. This one less competitive than that. Let's go down the field. We check in with Cole.
Where your offense is centered around, which is that dive, which we saw in the first play, and I wouldn't be surprised.
You can't afford to do that.
I was going to say, wouldn't be surprised if they start to get it off tackle, which they tried to do there, but can't do that without the ball.
Marshall to throw, flushed again, changes direction again, and he'll Reggie ball that one over to the hedges.
Those two, and he said they're more versatile, they're more dangerous on the outside with the weapons that Fromm has this year and how he's developed in throwing the football.
The versatile Swift, another chance, a hesitation behind the line, then he gets to the edge, stays in bounds, and down the line, he is out of bounds at the 2-yard line. It'll be first and goal, Georgia, after a 28-yard run.
That foot
inside the 1.
I think they shorted him about a yard on that. Got it spotted at the 2 right now. This is the set. Georgia loves these tight splits.
Yeah.
Create space on the outside. Wouldn't be surprised they throw a corner out here.
Fromm over the middle. It is caught. It's another touchdown pass for Jake Fromm. Second touchdown catch of the game for Riley Ridley. This is bordering on the ridiculous.
Great read there by Marshall, taking it himself.
Marshall 0 for 3 through the air. Wow. Malik Herring has had a monster day for Georgia. He blew that one up for a loss of 1.
Been all over the place. Been in the backfield, blowing up the dive there. Exceptional game by this defensive front hit Harry here. See, he's going to go to the dive first, get hands on the guard, reads the quarterback, and makes a tackle.
Georgia shows blitz. Option left and nowhere to go. The speed of the Georgia Tech defensive front and linebackers has absolutely mauled Georgia Tech.
Adam Anderson out here, number 56, is going to show great patience on this play. Again, his read key goes wide, so he keeps his eyes on his next key, which is the quarterback. Slow plays it. You overcommit against the option too early, that's when they can out-leverage you and get on the outside. Another great job by Georgia, staying fundamentally sound, and another 4th down here for Georgia Tech.
Marshall to throw to the slant. Incomplete. He was trying to fit it into Jalen Camp. And all Camp got out of it was a face full of sod.
I'll tell you what, for a second there, it looked like a good play. A little straight drop back, slant on the outside. Not something you see out of Georgia Tech. Great accurate throw by Marshall, putting it right in the belly. It's where you want it on a slant. You want it away from the defender as it is, but Camp's got to come down with that.
Knocked out by Eric Stokes. A 15-play drive that lasts 9 minutes and 2 seconds that nets nothing.
As I suspected, one drive in the bag for Jake Fromm in the second half, and here comes Justin Fields.
5 of 8 last week against UMass through the air. He was a 100-yard rusher, first for a quarterback at Georgia since Quincy Carter in 1998. Brian Harrion gets an opportunity. Okay, so this is different than maybe folks thought, in that Justin Fields is not being used as a weapon here. You don't need him to kickstart the offense. You're just getting him some reps. So what's the goal for Justin Fields today?
Well, I think it's the same goal that it's been all year. Continue to get him game reps as you develop him within this offense. Talking to Jim Chaney yesterday about Fields, he said there's nothing he can't do. His decisions maybe aren't quite as quick as Jake Fromm's, and understandably so. Fromm's been in the offense for a year longer than Fields, but shown a lot of promise in what he's been able to do as far as handling the entire offense. The only holdback as of now, some of the shifts and motions on early down packages that Jake Fromm is so good at. It's not the actual shifts and motions, it's how the defense reacts to those. To me, the more comfortable you get Justin Fields, the more you can feel good about inserting him next week into a hostile environment when you do need him. Because I've been a big advocate from the fact that they will need Justin Fields against Alabama. Not because Fromm can't do it, but when you're as good as Alabama is up front, you got to have a mobile quarterback at some point.
Jake Fromm has thrown 4 touchdown passes today. Georgia Tech has attempted only 5. We're through with 3 quarters. And Georgia in firm control. They've now gone to the dynamic Justin Fields at quarterback. We'll see what he can do next. To the 4th quarter we go. Clean, old-fashioned hate. Been a one-sided affair today. Georgia Tech has 1 touchdown. It came via special teams. Freshman Justin Fields, the quarterback, stands tall in the pocket, rifles one downfield. Trying to get it to Mecole Hardman. For Olympics, I think he made the right choice. As a 15-year-old, he was 5'4", 115 pounds. On third down, it is batted back. It is then knocked down by Taquan Marshall. Smart play. Adam Anderson was able to work his way into the backfield.
More impressive, Holyfield as a linebacker or Mello as a tight end? I mean,
well, nobody wants to get hit by Holyfield, no matter what.
No. Got to be on high alert playing at Texas A&M. The right A&M team shows up, they could win that.
Fields pressured, steps away from it, will take off, and he lowers his shoulder at midfield. It's a gain of 7. Malik Rivera, he graduated from Wofford with a degree in mathematics, finance, and computer science. He played in the FCS playoffs the last 2 years, comes up to make the stop as a graduate transfer for Georgia Tech.
And Nate Woody, the defensive coordinator for Georgia Tech, said he's probably the best decision they ever made was going to get Malik Rivera to transfer in. Bright spot on that defense. You saw the elusiveness of Justin Fields. They're trying to push the ball downfield, and had a late developing twist by Georgia Tech. He was able to scamper out and get a few yards. Got to learn to slide when he has the opportunity.
On 4th and 1, let's see if he got it.
Not sliding on 4th and 1, though, that's for sure. I think that spot's going to give it to him. Oh, thought he was just gonna eyeball it. Say, yep, looks good.
10:55 to go. Kirby Smart was thankful he brought in his mom to help out with Thanksgiving dinner, didn't he?
Smart man.
Yeah, let's get the ringer. She's a turkey perfectionist.
See, just go with your gut.
Just roll with it. He's not really happy about playing an option team at all, let alone this point in the schedule. You guys asked him, well, would you think about, because of the prep that it takes, putting another option team on the schedule, maybe an FCS team, say a Citadel? No chance.
No. Doing it once is bad enough. You don't want to have to do that twice, not just from a preparation standpoint, but
in spring, every practice they send 10 minutes on the option. Preseason camp, they spend an entire day on the option, and then 2 days on Georgia Tech's offense during the off week. Ball came loose, and Georgia Tech's got its first takeaway. It's Brandon Adams who found it. He forced it, and he got it.
True freshman quarterback, true freshman running back. Sometimes that exchange gets a little sloppy.
And it looked like Cole's beanie. Not pretty. Ripped out by Brandon Adams and recovered. Yeah, they're not pretty. No, the aardvark's not really. I mean, they have that pig-like snout. They go behind the line. They want to throw back. This is Marshall on the receiving end. He's got blockers out front. Taquan Marshall to the 20-yard line. Third straight time they've run that play. They finally throw it back. James Graham, the freshman quarterback out of Fitzgerald, Georgia, on the receiving end and the throwing end.
Interesting wrinkle, because most of the time you'd be worried about those blockers in front of the receiver stocking and going, throwing over the top to that side. I kept waiting for that to be the wrinkle, and then a quarterback throwback.
Well, if anything's guaranteed in this day and age. Here's the toss. Lynch. And he's got a Georgia Tech first down. Speaking of Ohio State, here's Peter Burns.
Yeah, they, in some degree, control their own destiny. If they beat Alabama, they will be in.
Here's Searcy trying to find the edge, and he reaches for the goal line. He's in. First offensive touchdown of the day for Georgia Tech. For Quay Searcy, it's a 3-yard plunge.
Lunges for the goal line at the end. That knee stays up. That's a good call by the ref standing there right in front. Thought about spotting it short here. You can see a little indecision by the ref as he takes one step back, but then confirmed. It's a good effort by Searcy on the outside. Georgia's got a lot of reserve guys in, so you're seeing Georgia Tech start to move the ball a little more successfully than they did. Obviously, for the rest of the game.
Be sure, 100% positive, that Georgia gets in over Alabama.
Yes, a one-loss SEC champion, with that one loss being on the road at LSU, who was number 3 in that committee's eyes at some point, and the committee has probably held higher than any other two-loss team this year. Yeah, I absolutely believe Georgia's in, no matter what, 100%.
Well, just for clarification, and here's James Cook trying to put an exclamation point on this one. He lost it on the way down, it seems, but also lost his hand warmers. Justin Schaefer hustles down to recover it. It's a gain of 27. Urban Meyer is trying to go 7-0 against Michigan. Ohio State leads that game 41-19.
You can be dynamic, but if you can't hold on the football, you're not going to get any meaningful time.
This will go as a pass. Akil Crumpton takes it from Fields and is able to finally turn the corner and pick up a first down. Brought down by Christian Campbell and Desmond Branch. It's a 12-yard gain.
Tough to see a dynamic player like Mackenzie Milton go down with a terrible injury.
Wow, Fields caught the Karam pass, and he ends up losing yardage. Desmond Branch with a fine play up front by Georgia Tech.
We saw Taquan Marshall earlier have a ball deflected up in the air. He did the right thing, knock it down. This is one they'll break down on film, and Jim Chaney will talk to Justin Fields either in film or maybe on the phone in just a few minutes and say, hey, I know you want to make a play, but let's knock this one down. Don't make a bad play worse. Incompletion's a 0-yard gain and a 0-yard loss, and we're headed the wrong way. Just knock that one down.
48-yard attempt for Rodrigo Blankenship. He is 7 of 8 in field goals between 40 and 49 yards this season. I have never seen a kicker be such a fan favorite. That one just off the upright. When he was announced pregame, the entire student section went nuts. The entire stadium did. And a rare miss from Hot Rod. Left it just a bit right. And Georgia fails to convert.
As a changeup, as a package quarterback, but a package quarterback that can really stretch the field as well, and Alabama will have to defend him as such. That's the first thing.
Screen to Jerry Howard goes for a Tech first down.
That knee brace against Citadel went the entire way, so I think he's as healthy as he's going to get. I think his knee injury probably is one where he's going to need some rest in the offseason, but he's as healthy as he's going to get right now.
Beautiful route run by Brad Stewart, and the senior makes the grab and takes a lick from Otis Reese.
And really the teaching, not as much the game plan, it's the teaching that they did all week, that they've done for a few days.
Jump ball caught, end zone, Brad Stewart.
Just as we're giving praise, the jump ball to Brad Stewart for the touchdown. Boy, he's had some big plays the last few weeks. 31-yard touchdown sealed the win versus Miami. Had a 37-yard diving catch for a go-ahead score last week. He's their go-to guy. Marshall threw him a 50-50 ball, and he got it.
Georgia can now fully turn their attention to Alabama in the SEC championship game. And once again, Nick Saban's coaching tree will try to find a win against the master with not only an SEC title on the line, but a berth in the college football playoff next week in Atlanta.
Quarterback Justin Fields takes a knee.
Fields will finish it off by taking a knee.
Play of the game today. The final score.
A pair of fourth-quarter touchdowns for Georgia Tech makes it look a lot better than it was. Georgia led this game at one point 45-7.
God fans, thank you for your attendance and support all season.
And Georgia goes to 11-1 on the year. A date with Alabama to come. And then at worst, a New Year's Six bowl game. Perhaps the sugar for Georgia. Georgia Tech is one of a handful of ACC teams with just about the same record. Their bowl destination remains to be seen. Cole standing by with the winning head coach. Here's Kirby Smart.